Hello students. Now we'll start our fourth session, right? We have done one session number 1, 2, 3. So in the fourth session, we'll be discussing economy, polity, and ecology. So in this session, we'll talk about economy. In economy also, we'll talk about the first part. So this is the fourth session that we always do: economy, polity, and ecology. And in this session, economy, I've divided economy into two parts, right? So one first part and second part, right? So I'll take care of the first part in this video, and the next class we'll take care of the second part, right? Okay, let's start. First is the lead bank scheme. So it's an old scheme of 1969. In 2018, RBI said that they will revamp this particular scheme. Okay, so what is the lead bank? From the name itself, a bank which coordinates the banking institution in a district. So in a particular district, one bank will be the lead bank. It does not mean other banks won't exist, but however, one bank will be the pace setter. One bank will be the pace setter in the particular district. Okay. So in each district was assigned to one bank, and where they acted as a pace setter in providing the integrated banking services. So those will be the lead bank. A public, or it can be a, what you need to remember, a public or a private bank. Bank with a large network in a rural sector areas in given district is assigned the lead bank status by RBI. So remember, RBI, not government. So lead bank is scheme by RBI. It acts as a lender for coordinating the efforts of all loan giving institution in the district for farmer, SME, and weaker section. It prepares district credit plan with a service area approach. Okay, so it will create a district wide credit plan with the service area approach, right? Okay, so this is a lead bank scheme. So in CST 2019, in prelims 2019, the question has been announced the lead bank scheme. So for service area approach was implemented under the purview of, so it is the lead bank scheme. In fact, if you know the lead bank scheme, you can guess also if you do not read about lead bank. So lead bank means it will lead in certain district or certain area. If you do not know about district, certain area, this particular bank will lead in certain area. And leading means providing service to the people. So it will be it is a probability of this getting right is high, right? Okay. Next is National Housing Bank. So National Housing Banks, RBI held 100% earlier. RBI held 100% in the NHB. Now, two things have happened. RBI stakes in the NHB have been transferred to the government. So now government owns 100% of the NHB. Right? Earlier RBI was owning it. Finance bill has done it. Implication change in the ownership from RBI to the government will segregate RBI roles the bank regulator and as the owner of NHB. We'll see the why it was done. Okay, so just to see what is NHB basically. NHB is a statutory body, right? Came about in 1988. A principal agency to promote and regulate housing finance institution in the India, both at local and the regional level. You can see here word regulate, and this function has been taken out from the NHB in the budget 2019 budget. It has been taken out. It launched RBI Residex. Residex index they have launched the first official residential housing price index in 2007. It takes care of the inflation in the housing sector. It is an apex institution for the housing finance, right? It regulates the it is a financing institution as well as the regulates NHB housing loans companies, regulate housing finance companies such as DHFL, Muthoot Financing and all. Okay, so those housing finance company it regulates. So basically NHB are having role of both providing finance to the housing finance companies indirectly, and also regulating the housing finance companies, right? So this is the contradiction, this is the conflict role. On the one hand you are providing the financing. So for example, this particular HFC has gone bankrupt, for example, or has done some scam. One particular HFC, let's say DHFL, has done some scam. So as a financer, it will say that okay, give us some money, it will give some leniency, but as a regulator it will say no, close down your operation. So there is a certain conflict of interest with NHB, and that is why government has hand over the housing finance companies to RBI from NHB. So this regulating part is taken now care by the RBI. So RBI will take care of the regulating part, right? However, RBI was having stakes in the RBI was owning NHB, and that is the problem. That is the government said, okay, fine, now we will take care of the NHB. RBI will not take care of the NHB. Fine, very easy. Just to reiterate it again. So basically, NHB has two functions, right? Providing finance and regulating functions. Now, these regulating functions have been given to RBI. Earlier, RBI was having ownership of NHB. That ownership has been cut down. Now, government is owning NHB, so that there exists no conflict of interest. Okay. You need to understand these small things, because these are the concepts in the economy that matters, right? Okay. So, where does NHB lies in the whole scheme of banks? So, they are the all India financial institutions. So, financial institutions are of two types: intermediary. One are formal, are the bank. One type of financial institutions are bank. Then different types of banks, and other are non-bank. Among the non-bank, these are the all India financial institutions. So there is NHB, there is NABARD, there is Exim Bank, and there is SIDBI. So we have seen NHB, we'll also see NABARD now. Okay, so NABARD started in 1982 on the recommendation of Shivaraman Committee under the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development Act 1981. Objective was advancement of the rural India, enhancing the flow of credit to the upliftment of agriculture as well as the rural agricultural sector. Okay, so one of the important roles of NABARD is act as a regulator for the immediate regulator for the cooperative banks and the RRBs. Okay, they also provide the refinance to the lending institutions in the rural areas, helping out the institution. For example, rural area, these institutions are providing credit to it, so NABARD help these institutions. This is called refinance. Okay, so important role is regulatory authority of the cooperative banks and the RRB. Indirect refinance to farmer artisan operates Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, RIDF. This particular fund is gets the money from the PSL shortfalls. In the next September, I'll cover the priority sector line in detail. Then we'll discuss these two funds. One fund with NABARD, one fund with SIDBI. So RBI has divested its entire fund stake in NABARD, and NHB we have seen, right? With this, government now hold 100% stakes in both the institutions. So RBI also gave not only NHB but also some of the stakes in. It does not have all the stakes in NABARD, but some of the stakes in NABARD to government. Okay. Next topic is Public Credit Registry. So it is set up by RBI and recommendation of YM Deosatli Committee. Okay, so basically Public Credit Registry vary from the name itself, Public Credit Registry. So a registrar will have the all the details of the credit of a person. So it's a database of the credit information for all credit products in a country from the point of origination of credit to the termination. So it will be a really comprehensive database for collection of all the types of all the credits. It will give lender a 360-degree view of the borrower's outstanding credit past performance, help to reduce NPA. For example, a borrower has taken money from bank 1, bank 2, bank 3. So bank 1, if does not know how much credit they have taken from this particular bank, then how will they track the overall outstanding amount this particular borrower? So Public Credit Registry will have a 360-degree view, all the outstanding payment and debts of this particular borrower. Then only the major big credits can be given to him, right? So this PCR will get so there has to be mandatory reporting by the banks, NBFC and FIs, and this information will be available to RBI and other people if on request, right? It will have the willful defaulter risk and all the other things. These are technical terms. So this is basically the idea of PCR. Important thing is Public Credit Registry in contrast would not be constrained by any minimum threshold in the loan requirement. Remember, so there is no minimum threshold that, for example, we will have the credit of more than 50 crore. This is not that like that. Every credit will be present there, and would also collect comprehensive information not just on the bank credit but also on the loans from the NBFC, debenture, bond, external commercial borrowing, utility payments, and so forth, to provide a holistic picture of the borrower's credit history. So, borrower's credit history from all the angles, a 360-degree view. Inclusion of ancillary information, all these things are there. Okay. Next is SWIFT. So first SWIFT is two SWIFT we'll read. One SWIFT is this, and one SWIFT related to the Nirav Modi scandal. Okay, so SWIFT is single window interface for facilitating trade. So single window clearance as a part of the ease of doing business initiative. Right? So from the name itself, single window clearance as a part of ease of doing business. So from the name itself, single window clearance they will provide. Right? Who will provide this? CBEC, Central Board of Excise and Custom. Okay, so this is SWIFT, a major boost to the ease of doing business. Indian Custom has launched SWIFT for ease of doing business. Imports can electronically lodge their custom clearance document at a single point at the SWIFT. Okay, SWIFT integrates regulatory requirement to the common platform, thereby minimizing the duplicacy and the cost of compliance. Right, and this is SWIFT. The other SWIFT is, it is European Union based secure electronic messaging system and common standards for facilitating cross-border payment. So this is the other SWIFT. You can see. So basically what it does is this. So for example, on international level, there are two banks. For example, this person gives money to John's local branch. John is a person, and this particular person gives money to the John's local branch, and this money has ultimately get to Tina. Right, this is the scene, and this is across the nation. So the messaging system by this bank to this bank is done through SWIFT. So SWIFT is basically a messaging system, financial messaging system. You can see here, message from this bank to the next bank. SWIFT just provide a network to send the secure interbank message that this transaction has been raised, and you have to cater to the needs of the other one. Headquarters is in Brussels, Germany. Member group of 15 countries and 239 banks. Okay. So SWIFT is Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. It was in the news in the Nirav Modi scandal happened. So it powers a real-time gross settlement market, globally market called market infrastructure. Premier financial messaging standard body. Right. More than 2.5 message exchange between 10,000 plus financial institutions and corporates over 210 countries. Right, and this is SWIFT. So what happened is basically in the Nirav Modi scandal. So Nirav Modi, a businessman, was settled in a different foreign jurisdiction. He wanted some money, right? So he called his PNB branch to get some money. He has some money here, collateral here. So the PNB branch issued a LOU, letter of undertaking, to the foreign bank, right? That provide this man the fund. Now this bank has provided fund to the Nostro account. We'll discuss Nostro account of the PNB, and this money goes to Nirav Modi. He gets money in the dollars in the foreign jurisdiction. Now he does his business, he buys diamonds and these things, right? Now what is the problem in Nirav Modi scandal? This LOU have been issued by the bank. However, the PNB has not taken care of what is the collateral of Nirav Modi. The collateral of the Nirav Modi has not been taken care of, right? And without taking those collaterals, they kept on issuing the LOUs for large sum of money, and he kept on spending, right? There also the SWIFT messages went through. However, SWIFT was not integrated with the core banking solution of the PNB, and that is what the problem was. Otherwise, all the transaction would have been computed in the core banking solution, and the authority would have gone for it, would have known for this adventure of Mr. Nirav Modi, but it did not happen, right? So for prelim perspective, we need to know a few key terms. LOU, SWIFT we have done, Nostro account, right? Okay. So first Nostro account. So Nostro account, bank maintains foreign currency stock in the form of the bank accounts with their overseas branches. So bank X here, bank Y here. So nostro account of bank X is opened in the bank Y. You getting my point? And from this account, Nirav Modi got the money. Right? This is the nostro account. LOU. So bank guarantee that allows the customer to raise money from the another bank's foreign branch in the form of the short-term loan. It has to be another Indian bank. So there are basically different terms. A letter of undertaking, letter of credit. Don't have to go into internal jurisdiction, internal difference between those. But basically, it is that RBI has taken a decision to ban LOU will raise the cost of import, will help the export competitiveness, because now exporter feel that they don't have this particular method to raise the money, right? So LOU is a guarantee issued by the Indian bank against which the foreign currency loan is availed. Now that is on RBI has clamped down. Okay, LOU is used by the bank's customer to avail a short-term credit in the foreign country and used by the businessman to report the goods. Okay, and this is the letter in the spirit. So RBI says the banks want RBI to reintroduce with checks and balances, obviously, suggest that interbank cross communication on redesign LOU done using a different code of SWIFT. So integration of SWIFT with core banking solution, or these are the solution instead of the overarching ban. Next is a SWIFT India. So basically the integration of the SWIFT with the Indian different stakeholders in India. So it's a joint venture of the top Indian public and private sector banks and the SWIFT, Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, created to deliver a high quality domestic international messaging service to the Indian financial community. So basically what is the work basically? So different stakeholders such as stock exchange custodian, other banks, and NEFT doing corporates, right? Payment system, foreign banks. So it will a single point information to the Indian banks, to all these stakeholders, right? To the outside world also. So SWIFT provides a very good platform on which all these transactions can be taken care of. So for example, this is Indian financial industry, right? And this is the outside world. So SWIFT as a single point platform will be able to integrate both of them, so that individually each and everyone does not have to create their own mechanism to deal with the foreign financial stakeholders, other stakeholders in the financial markets, right? So SWIFT creates a single base platform on which the Indian financial industry comes on together, and then they use this particular platform to transact their business with the outside world, right? Okay. Next is PDMA, Public Debt Management Agency. Here also we have to understand the conflict of role of the RBI. So government has to set up in 2015, government had decided to set up a PDMA, that is Public Debt Management Agency, to bring India's external debt management and the internal debt management under the one. Currently, for example, India country raises some debt, right, in the foreign jurisdiction and in the Indian jurisdiction. Indian jurisdiction mainly by GSECs, right? So in the management of the foreign one is done by the Ministry of Finance, and the internal one is done by the RBI. So government is saying we'll take up the function of RBI of this and will merge with this to create a PDMA that will take care of all the management, that will take care of all the debt related management. So it's the first step towards the direction was the establishment of PDMC within the budget division of the Ministry of Finance. So when the RBI's power was taken, for example, when the RBI power taken out, RBI was not happy. So government decided, okay, we'll start with the PDMC, Public Debt Management Cell. We are not strictly delineating the role of RBI, but we are having the first step, right? So they have set up PDMC, but and after that PDMC will set up as a precursor to PDMA. So this is the story. Now, understanding why the PDMC is required, PDMA is required. So RBI does the open market operations, right, with GSECs, right? So on this hand, using the GSECs, buying and selling of the GSECs with different entities, including the public sector banks, RBI manages the internal debt of India, right? So on the other hand, RBI is managing the internal debt of India. It wants PSB to have a lot of GSECs as a working for management of the internal debt. On the other hand, it is the regulator of PSB also. So it is the regulator of PSB also. So the conflict of interest is that RBI can nudge these PSBs, public sector banks, to buy these government security, or the other banks buy these securities, these government securities. So the public sector banks will not buy these government securities because of their voluntary market dynamics, but because of the nudge of the RBI, because RBI wants to improve the internal debt condition of India, of the government. And that is where the conflict role starts. Getting the point? On the one hand, RBI is managing the internal debt. So they want a lot of GSECs to be transacted in the way they want. On the other hand, they are the regulator of the PSBs. So, and one of the client of the GSECs are PSBs. So they can nudge the PSBs to buy these GSECs rather than their own PSBs internal board decision, their own company's decision. Instead, their decision influenced by the RBI, and that is where the conflict role starts. That is why government wants to take care of its internal credit, internal debt, want to take it and make a separate institutional body, that is PDMA, right? Okay, so that was there. PDMC to be set up in the budgetary division of Ministry of Finance, but to be housed in RBI to avoid the conflict of the RBI. And finally, PDMA will be established dealing with the debt. MOF sets up PDMC as an interim engagement, right? And the PDMA will come up in some time. Okay. Next is partial credit guarantee scheme to PSBs. So partial credit guarantee scheme to PSBs. So from the name itself, guarantee scheme to PSB, public sector banks. So the scheme provides for the one-time partial credit guarantee schemes to the PSB for the purchase of the pooled asset of the financially sound NBFC. So there are some NBFC which are financially sound. So these assets of the PSB who have credited them, they will be provided with the finance, right, to help these NBFC. Their liquidity crunch has to be helped, right, to address the temporary asset liability mismatch of otherwise solvent, remember the solvent NBFC and housing finance companies without having to resort to distress or the sale of asset for meeting their commitment. So improving the credit rating of the corporate bond, in this case that of NBFC. So when the NBFC will get the finance, it will improve their balance sheet and they can take up more business. So it's a one-time partial credit guarantee scheme time 6 months or till 1 lakh trillion exhausted, whichever one is earlier. So guarantee first loss up to 10% of the valid amount. How it will help? It will provide liquidity to the NBFC facing temporary asset liability mismatch. It is expected to avoid the distressed sale of the asset. So that distressed sale of the asset does not taken by the NBFC. They perform their function professionally, right? Okay, so this one, NBFC and HFC rated up to BP plus come under the partial guarantee scheme. Proposed government guarantee scheme will help non-NBFC and the housing finance companies to resolve their temporary liquidity and enable them to continue contributing to the credit creation of the cash flow mismatch issues, provide last mile lending to the borrowers, thus spurring the economic growth. So one of the steps taken to spur the economic growth. Next is the RuPay card. Many of you must have it also, RuPay card. So it's an Indian domestic card system by the NPCI. We have done NPCI. So it was created to fulfill RBI desire to have a domestic open loop multi-layer system of the payments in India. RuPay will facilitate electronic payment at all Indian banks and financial institutions and competes with the MasterCard and the Visa, right? So Indian system, Indian card, right? So first of its kind domestic credit and debit and credit card network with wide acceptance at ATM, POS device and e-commerce device across India. It's highly secure and that protect against anti-phishing. We have done phishing, right? Okay. So it gets the name from rupee and the payment, RuPay by NPCI. We have already done NPCI. Next is Advisory Board of Banking, Advisory Board for Banking Frauds, ABBF. So having so many banking frauds, CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, decided to constitute an advisory board for the banking fraud to examine the bank frauds over 50 crores and recommend the action over it. Okay, so advisory boards for the banking frauds under the CVC. So now state-run banks have to report all the cases of large fraud to 4 members board set up by the CVC. The panel advisory board will decide the course of the action for each of the cases, including the reference to be investigation agencies such as CBI. Okay, ABBF will function the first level examination of all fraud cases before recommendation or the reference made to the investigating agency. So remember, it is not done under RBI, it is under the CVC. Okay. Next is Development Bank. So Development Bank, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman has said the agenda to set up a development bank is a welcome initiative. Basically they are trying to rediscover the development bank. So history of development bank, we'll see what are these development bank and what was their role, how they are different from the commercial bank. So development bank are the financial institutions that provide long-term credit for the capital intensive investment spread over a long period. Long-term credit for a capital intensive investment. See, these banks also extend useful services such as in-house technical expertise, underwriting, new capital issuance, creating confidence in the other lender. So they are different from the commercial bank that caters to the commercial bank. It is different from the commercial bank that caters to the retail customers, right? The source of the fund by issuing obtained by issuing long-dated securities in the capital market subscribed by long-term saving institutions such as pension and the insurance funds. So if we see the history of it, so such banks are often lend at a low and stable rate of the interest to promote long-term investment with the considerable social benefits. Development bank, also known as the term lending institutions or the development finance institution. As I told you, they lend for long term. Development bank require corresponding long term source of finance also. Okay. So difference between development bank and the commercial bank. So development bank are different from the commercial bank, which mobilize short to medium term deposits and lend for the similar maturity to avoid the maturity mismatch. That are the commercial banks. The capital market complements the commercial banks, providing a long term finance. Together they are known as the Anglo-Saxon financial system. These are the these two things, commercial bank and the capital market. They are saying they are the Anglo-Saxon financial system. Now if we talk about the history of development banks, so in India we had those development banks since independence. In India, development bank started immediately after the independence. Industrial Financing Corporation of India was the first development bank in India, started in 1948 to provide finance to the medium and the large scale industry in India. After 1991, following the report of the Narasimhan Committee on the financial sector reform, this developmental bank have been disbanded and got converted into the commercial bank. So developmental banks converted all to the commercial banks, all the AIFIs. Okay, so just to summarize the difference, commercial banks to provide short-term loans and the development bank provide long-term loans. They accept deposit from the public, they accept deposit from the commercial banks, central and state governments. Direct finance to the customer, provide refinancing facility to the commercial bank, not directly to the retail customers. Okay, so examples of the earlier development banks were IDB, I told you, right? NABARD was earlier considered development bank. Now they are in the AIFI. A new category was made. This all you can see here, AIFIs, right? Okay, so these are the development banks, and now government is thinking to come up with a development bank. So now the scholars are saying that you need to keep in mind the correct design of it to get the most benefit, right? So now we ended with the part 1 of our discussion. Many of the discussions we had today for economy are related to the banking sector. In the next class of the economy, we'll take up some of the miscellaneous topics of the economy, right? Okay, then see you in the next class.